just do a countdown and we'll just go.
Alright. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Wash gods.
Yeah.
Wash never washed up.
Yeah, this is God Engineering. This is episode 68.
It's God's work.
More washnicity is the word. Yeah.
Washification.
Yeah. Washification of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long process, but yeah. Welcome back, man. This
Scenic
is,
route, man.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
This is special because we're doing an extra joint this week. So it means more pod for your
Head
pod
top.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So really wanting to get back into staying busy and shit, man. I feel like all my favorite podcasts show up like more than one time a week. So you know,
It's only right.
Yeah.
You join the fold.
Yeah, I got to be, then a lot of my favorite podcasts only show up once a week, and I got to be the change I want to see in the world. So, yeah, you know what I mean?
Existential draft. I see you, B. I told you this nigga gonna be Jordan Peterson by the end of this shit, man. Fuck a job, nigga. Get in your subconscious and steal. Scam, do something. Don't be broke.
Say, man, I'm tired of like being bored. I'm like, damn, man, all my pods don't ever show up, man. But I'm like, man, I'm sitting here complaining, but
the podcast energy is being like, it's starting to become like music. Like, it's like, what the fuck, nigga? I know I can do better than this shit. You start seeing shit out there in the universe, and then you start trying to do it on your own because you realize how other niggas fuck up.
I really just had that conversation with Vince. I was like, man, when I was talking about trying to up the content, I'm just like, bro, like I listen to music. I love music, bro. You know what I think all the time, or I wake up every morning thinking like, damn, it ain't no good music out. But like, bro, you know how many fucking songs are out? Like, how many new songs get put out a day? Nah, you know what I'm saying? But there are only the ones that stand out, and we're gonna be in one of them ones, or you know what I mean. So we here. I guess we'll say, how you feeling? Something different.
I'm feeling washed in commemoration of this inaugural second pod, or this continuous second pod. Inaugural means like a year, but anyway, it's just been a weird morning. I've been productive, to say the least, so that's a positive. But you know how sometimes you go through like a series of tasks that you have to do, and then after you're done, it's like, man, this shit wasn't nothing but work. Like, there's no like personal, what's the word? Like, I don't feel enthused. I'm not motivated to do more. Like, now it's just like, well, it's early and I got a bunch of shit done. Fuck it. I don't want to do shit else for the rest of the day. It's that kind of feeling.
I do feel like I'm like an early riser, so like a lot of times by like noon, I'm kind of like done with the day, because I'm like, man, I done done so much shit, man. I
Same.
don't know what the fuck else to do. I be hitting people up like trying to call niggas earlier, but I forget everybody's not wired like me. So like at 9 a.m. they're not like ready to go do some shit. Like,
most of the time, I'm usually that nigga though. Like, I'm up myself. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, an older one, and they were talking about the importance of sleep. One of my favorite ones. I want to say it's Dr. Carl. No, that's not. That's the nigga that do heroin. Yeah.
But I do remember that episode.
But one of the things they said with indigenous people is, first of all, they said it's better if you go to sleep in cooler temperatures. Like, when your body cools down, you tend to get better sleep, deeper sleep. And then a lot of indigenous people their sleep cycle tends to revolve around temperature drops. And like, when the sun comes up and it starts to warm up, they don't necessarily wake up because of sunlight. They wake up because the environment's warmer. And I think that has a lot to do with like my sleep schedule and why I wake up so early. Like, as soon as dawn hit, like, I'm usually up. And
into that notion, I feel like I do get better sleep in the wintertime.
Same.
Like summertime, I kind of just feel like I might get 3-4 hours and be ready to get the fuck up, nigga. Especially in Atlanta, you know how that when the heat kick in, bro.
The freeze come out.
Yeah.
Freeze come out.
It's like 2 showers a day type vibes in Atlanta right now. So, I don't remember what the fuck we were talking about. What were we saying?
How I was feeling.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, it's been a lot of early mornings. A lot of shit been going on. Like, as I spoke on the previous pod, I've been doing a lot at my job and trying to transition my way out. That being said, this is like my second week kind of working with nobody looking over my shoulders, no management, which is fine because now I'm management, but I'm also working my way out, like transitioning out. Like week 1 of my 2-week notice is already down, and the owners of the restaurant have been sick. So I kind of been just trying to fulfill like my obligations in that role, taking on all the extras that tend to come my way. Again, I've been productive, but not necessarily like excited about the sense of accomplishment. That's the word I was looking for, or the phrase I was looking for. I don't have any sense of accomplishment. It's just like some shit I did. And I think a lot of that has to do with how, like shit like this, like how I feel about my own personal endeavors. Like I see the time and effort that I put into other things, and I think about how it may benefit me in this area as opposed to doing it for somebody else. But all things in due time. But how about you? How you feeling?
I'm feeling a little lost at the moment, but I think that's a good thing. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm in that juxtaposition where I look at a lot of people that are like very ingrained in their career choice and their path, whether it be personal or business. You know what I mean? They got families, or they got a job. They've been out for 10 to 20 years. And then I look at myself. It's just like none of those pieces are in play. You know what I mean? But then I look at, like, I'm not necessarily envious of the other side either, though. So it kind of makes you feel like a odd juxtaposition where it's like, I don't even know what the... I always look at niggas' goals like, man, is that it? You know? So I'm getting at the age, it's like, well, maybe I'm just a little bit too advantageous with goals, because, like, maybe, like, you know, you should be satisfied with just a whole wife, kids, got a decent job, you're eating every day, blah, blah, blah. You sitting out till you die type shit.
Yeah, especially with this new job that I'm planning on transitioning into, it's been a whole lot of soul searching, because I know it's going to take a lot of time away from the things that I have as personal goals. And
I'm looking at it like, oh, I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, go ahead.
I'm looking at it like,
it's your world, dog.
like at what point do you know, settling down is always a funny term, whether that shit just be personal or like I said, business. So it's like, at what point are you supposed to settle down? I never looked at that shit as an end goal. Like I remember having that.
You're never supposed to settle. Like settling down doesn't necessarily mean like having a family or like picking a job and career and sticking to it, even though it's something you may not necessarily have started out doing. I think like picking a lane and sticking to it is more the goal, and finding people who can help you accomplish that. And it doesn't allow, and your activities don't hinder their endeavors to accomplish their goals. So I think that's settling down. Just sounds like you doing some shit you don't really want to do. Like,
yeah, but you know, being especially washed at this age, it's like you're gonna be around you're always gonna be around two types of people. The people that urge you, like I said, the people that's gonna urge you to push you towards your creative goals. Like, hey man, you only live once, YOLO, man. Go do what the fuck you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you'll figure out the rest in between. You know, and that's easy to say. You know what I'm saying? But then it's the other side. People like, man, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, I mean,
get a suit and tie and shit. And I'm looking at both sides. Like, nigga, both y'all fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause like I said, I've been on both sides of the fucking grenade, and sometimes you get out of the way of that shit, and sometimes you gotta put your helmet over that motherfucker
and hold on. That's funny. Is that a real quote? If not, bro, we gotta write a book. That shit was amazing. Both sides of the grenade. I was like, it was a moment where I was like, all right, where's he going? Nah, that's a perfect analogy, because that's kind of how I feel. Like, I definitely just had the same conversation with Vince this morning, talking about like how I don't necessarily want to give up on my personal effects in order to do a job for somebody and afford what people consider a normal quote unquote life. Because like, I'm gonna sacrifice my freedom. I'm gonna give somebody else my free time, and I might lose my mind, and nobody's gonna really care about me personally and all the work that I did for them if I lose my shit.
Yeah.
And I felt that I felt that working these type of jobs before, like that mindless labor shit, and you get to a point where it ain't worth it. And especially when real life happens, like when employers start asking you, like, yo, what's a good reason for you to miss work? And you just sitting there like, man, it's a setup, bro. What you? Like, I'll come to work because you pay me. Like, the money look funny, I might miss work. You know, like if
the whole idea of me
if you treat me like my time is invaluable, I might miss work. Like,
I meant to put this on one of the topics, but this rolls right into one of the shits. But I saw Stephen A. Smith. This thing been going viral. He's on somebody's talk show or some shit getting interviewed. He's like, I wake up with two thoughts in my mind: how I can make my bosses more money, and how can I get some of it. And I'm just like, man, I just the last shit I ever think of in the morning. You think I wake up like, man, how can I get my boss more money and shit? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not a thought for me. And I always think about that shit. Just
y'all niggas got to get free on all levels. Like that shit like that is discouraging for somebody who has the opportunity to say whatever they want concerning like society and black people. Like, and you this isn't even racial. It's only like putting that type of category because you're a black man saying like Eric Black said, like, I can't call no man boss. Like, I don't want to call nobody boss. Like, that shit sound like daddy. And I mean it from the standpoint of like, not necessarily you wrong for having a boss, but the way you look at these type of arrangements is like a partnership. Like you mentioned on a previous pod, I come here to do a job. You need the job done and you pay me for it. That's the end of the agreement. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like there are certain personal things that I should always be able to keep to myself and do for self outside of what I'm required to do for work. Like uniforms, a lot of that shit feel like slavery. Like, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but that's just how I feel. Like, especially when I can do something like this or something else that supports my own interest and not have to do anything but show up in a tank top and flip flops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's just funny, like when I used to say if you miss a day of work, even when I'm just talking to people, like, bruh, like, what'd you tell them? And like, how'd that go out? It's just like, man, I didn't even hate that energy of, as being an adult. Like, oh shit, walking into somewhere, anywhere, looking like, yo, I gotta explain myself to this motherfucker, or I'm in big trouble. I'm in a whole heap of trouble and shit. Like, I just hate that energy. Like, and I don't know if that's just like sometimes I feel like it's a little childish to be like, nah, I ain't doing what the fuck you say. But at the same time, it's like, nigga, I feel like I'm a team player, but it's just like the teams that they be trying to put a nigga on.
If you let go of that though, at what point do you start letting go of more?
That's
when
it is a slippery
your personality or your sense of entitlement for self. Like,
and I do look at people all the time. It's like I think they were once me. They once had the same ideas as me. They once, had that vigor. Like, nah, nigga, I'm gonna figure this shit out. But then life beats you down enough to beat you into submission, and eventually you're just like, all right, man. You want my hands behind my back? Where you want me to go? You know what I'm saying? Like, so. And
that's a terrible feeling. Like, part of the reason that I tried to get away from the type of work that makes me feel that way is because they're not gonna care about you and they're gonna set you up to fail. And pushing to do somebody else's bidding, like to advance somebody else's financial prosperity or career in any way, shape, or form, feel like you cheating yourself, because nobody ever asks you how you doing. Like, and if you give them a real answer, it's not shit they gonna really do.
Yeah.
Especially in those environments, because you're not the priority.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make yourself the priority when somebody else is occupying all of your time. But yeah, like, without making it too anti-occupation, like, I do think that it's just about balance. Like, there's a work-life balance that has to be found, and I think going into this next exchange, like the transition for both of us, me leaving one job and going into a next, you contemplating life while you've got the time to not spend your free energy doing shit for other people. A lot of that is like I said, like you said, being lost isn't necessarily a bad thing. A lot of that is the opportunity for you to create space and design it for yourself. Like,
and the other side of it too is just, I don't know. And this is probably getting way deeper than this shit should have gone. But I often sit and look at people and like look at the choices and like, we live in such like a front face society, as I always say. It's like you never really.
What that mean?
Meaning like everybody's so outwardly trying to display a certain lifestyle. So it's rather than what's actually happening. So like you know what I mean, like front facing in like the retail industry is like when you pull shit forward, you might like it might have one box right there, but you're gonna make it look like everything's full because that's the idea. It just looks better to sell. So that's the same thing like people do in a certain way. So it might be nothing there, but they pushing everything to the front to make it look good.
Like
you
when a
know
nigga
what I
tell you what he do before he tell you who he
mean?
is.
Yeah. So it's like it's hard to tell. I mean, not that my happiness is based on other niggas, but I'll be looking at it like, yeah, motherfucker tell me, yo, you should take this choice, but are they even happy in that shit that they're doing? Like, are they just as miserable?
Yeah. I felt like that talking to people about this new job. Like, they was telling me, it's like, yeah, man, it's a great opportunity, woody woody woo, and it's like, man, I'm seeing all the people on the dock. I'm just looking like, oh shit, y'all look as unhappy as I felt doing this shit. And even the person I interviewed with, he was telling me how like he did a job similar to me, mom and pop logistics, like managing a small team of people who did deliveries, and he was like, yeah, it was just too much work for too little pay. I'm like, It's funny you say that because that's how I felt.
Yeah. And like, I remember, like, I mean, even every new job I started, even, you know, once you start getting ingratiated with, like, the co-workers and stuff, and everybody's like, yeah, man, you got to come hang out with us. And it's just like you said, it just feel like misery love company. Like, yeah, come on down, man. Like, hey, you're cool, man. Like, we need somebody else to be miserable with, you know? Because it's like, yo, there's no way you enjoy this shit, you know? So, I don't know, man. This whole system that we have set up is where like we're just products or we're just cogs, and the shit is just a scary ass thing. The older you get, it's like, oh shit, man.
Don't ever put how you feeling in the topics ever again, bro. We just talk about how our week is, bro. Because now I think about it, and the more we discuss it, I feel fucking terrible about all of this shit.
This extra
shit gotta work, bro. I feel desperate.
This episode is for them to get to know the gods, man.
All right, man. Shit fucked up, boy. It's real over here, man. Come around with that bullshit if you want to. Niggas is tired and frustrated.
Nah, man, everything is Gucci, man. Like, you know what I mean? I on the flip side of things, man, started this fucking podcast. It had a fucking microphone attachment to my iPhone, man. You know, here we are now. So, you know what I mean? Let's front face this bitch a little bit. Name of the pod. Yeah, I guess we could get into the Sha'Carri Richardson suspension.
Yeah. This was really relevant because I got to take a drug test for this new job, and I was thinking about how, like, I literally said it before the news came. Yeah, I literally said this myself. I was like, yo, weed is legal in I don't know how many states in the capital of the United States, and we're still drug testing for jobs. I'm not even against drug testing for the sake of like safety, depending on your job, but I am against barring employment based on those reasons. Like, and I'm not saying that, like, my argument with I had this conversation with my dad because he and I were talking about it, and he was saying, well, she knew the rules, and like she should have. She says she knew the rules, and she seems like she's taking responsibility for it. I just think it's a missed opportunity, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, again, a sense of personal entitlement is so much more important to me than ever doing anything for anybody else on anybody else's behalf. Because you spend so much time, at least me personally, growing up, I spent so much time, whether it be in school, religion, like being at home and having strict parents. Like, you go through so much time, people telling you what to do, when you have all these ideas that you feel like would work in your personal benefit, for your personal edification, and you follow somebody else's instruction or direction based on like how much you take their reputation, like in, or how high in regard you hold their reputation or their authority, and then the shit go left, or it's not what you feel like doing at that point in time, or you just can't physically or emotionally do it, and then you're penalized for making the independent decision that works best for you. And I think that's really what happened to Sha'Carri. Like, she put herself in a position where she got too high and thought she could be herself. Yeah, she got too high. Thought she could be herself, even though there were plenty of people that supported her and had her back. There's always gonna be somebody at the very top that's like, nah. And I think USADA is just one of those organizations that always has their hand in some sort of like legality when it comes down to athletes, especially black athletes. Like I don't see a lot of white athletes come under fire, even though Michael Phelps was one of the people that
did have that big fallout. That was a big thing.
Yeah, but I don't think that it wasn't his first rodeo. Like she's a 21-year-old and this is her first time going to the Olympics. Like, and she was in Oregon, a state that has legalized recreational use for marijuana. Yeah. So, and she smoked like the same week.
Boy,
she smoked the same week her mother died.
Yeah.
And the information was brought to her by a reporter before it came through means of her family. I remember I had a family member pass away and my cousin called me before my parents did, and I was kind of in my feelings. And it's like I can only imagine being on live TV and somebody being like, yeah, so we're sorry, my condolences on the loss of your mother, and you just sitting there like, what?
Yeah.
You fortunate she ain't have a breakdown. Like weed might have saved her mental state. Like, and I'm not saying that as a way of like advocating marijuana use for like the resolve of your issues for everybody, like for everybody. But I do understand like being stressed out and coming home and lighting up and it being better than it was previously that day. Like,
and I think that's just another episode of like He Who Wears the Crown too. Like I also think like the moment like this shit went viral, she was the biggest internet sensation. I was just kind of holding my breath like, oh,
here we go.
Yeah, what's next? Because but I did thought about this too, because I just took a drug. Well, I didn't just take it. I took a drug test recently, and I'm looking at the results. I passed because I'm the shit. But I'm going through the shit. I'm like, man, they didn't even test for marijuana. I did all this shit for nothing. So there's a lot of jobs that drug test. I think a lot of people don't know, like, marijuana is not always even on the list of drugs that they're banned. But
I was thinking that shit when the job I got is a trucking job. And I'm like, y'all gonna test me and like condition my employment based on whether I smoke weed or not, when truckers do meth. like it's a popular drug amongst people who drive cross country. How are we even comparing this, bro? Like, I don't understand the purpose in having a country like bar this woman from running in the Olympics when I saw a tweet. It was somebody was like, "Yo, y'all got skateboarding in the Olympics, and y'all not letting niggas smoke weed. Like this shit don't make sense no more. like a lot of these things, a lot of these sports that, even basketball, like the idea of like smoking for therapeutic use is not foreign to anybody, especially in the sports medicine field. Like whether it be CBD, THC, or any other psychoactive drugs or psychoactive components that may be in marijuana. Like there is a certain mind state that comes with being paranoid. Like a hypercritical person is going to analyze all aspects of whatever task they got going on. And sometimes that does help. Like for some people who don't have the same type of mind state or the same type of goals, it may not be the best for you. And I think that's a lot of the reason that Terrence McKenna mentioned, like, a lot of the psychoactive components in marijuana aren't supposed to be used daily. Like, you're supposed to take long breaks, and then when you return, do a lot at once, so that way you can kind of process your shit and you can get the real effect that it's supposed to have. At the same time, daily use, like especially based on like pain and recovery, could be different person to person. Like, and I think all of that needs to be considered when you're talking about an athlete like Sha'Carri Richardson, who has gone through a lot of trauma, not just physically, but emotionally. Like, track ain't no easy sport. Like, you train every day, and they never televise your meets until it's time to go to the Olympics. And there isn't a whole lot of support. Like, you have to be dedicated to it for years. Like,
I know, I always do look at it both sides, though. As much as I fuck with her, and I think she deserves to be in the Olympics, there are people just on probation. And like, nigga, I went to jail, nigga. I fucked up, nigga. She just got put out a little tournament. She be all right. So, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know. The flip side of that is like, yeah, I agree with everything the whole black side is saying. And like, shit, I'm on that side. But damn, nigga, like, at the same time, it's like people have to go through much worse
She just in the spotlight. Everybody want to talk to her
for failing a drug test. So
I think the bigger issue is for me personally watching this, like, it's not the fact that they keeping her from the Olympics. It's like what's behind the curtain on all these allegations. Like the fact that she probably has gone through a lot. Like she is going through a lot, and this is just you adding fuel to the fire. There's somebody who was obviously going through something and was hurting and told you that. And didn't try to hide it. Like after she made the Olympics,
great athletes we lost to just repeated marijuana offenses, and not just her. So
I can't remember the guy who played for the Browns. We just talked about that shit.
We could bring out Ricky Williams.
I brought up Ricky Williams yesterday.
Damon Stoudemire had multiple offenses. I want to say AI might have got caught a few times. So it's like, and there's a lot of athletes that got put through the ringer as well. I remember this is kind of not the same thing when AI had the whole practice thing. Like the thing that got left out, his homie just got killed that day. And like he just got the news randomly right before the press conference, and he had to go through similar things. And of course, his nigga was drunk, and he wasn't really on the right state of mind. But that's still coming with drugs, treating the trauma and shit. So this is just a story that's been told a million times with black athletes,
different ways.
You know what I mean? I definitely think she deserves. I think she'll get another chance. I think she'll be fine. But it's fucked up. Definitely prayers go out to her just because she lost her mom. I think that's the biggest loss, if anything, she got to deal with. I mean, I think even in the grand scheme of things, she's probably more dealing with that than any of this Olympic shit.
If anything, we should all burn one for Sha'Carri Richardson in solidarity.
Like, well, I already was.
Hey, man. I got a drug test. So, I'm not finna play the fool. Shout out to her, though.
yeah, but, she'll be fine, man. And shout out to all the other athletes that got their careers fucked up behind like, marijuana, positive drug tests and shit. So, Michael Vick, another one.
Yeah. I think Marshawn Lynch was, too, at one point.
Yeah, probably, most likely. Jordan. Oh, that's who you're talking about. Josh. I forget that cat's name. The wide receiver for the Browns. Yeah. Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah. I think he plays for the Patriots now. He's out the league again because he got multiple, as Stephen A. Smith says, stay off the weeds. But I guess on that note, what we got? What's time looking like? Time.
Oh, we good, bro. We can run through.
All right. All right, well, I guess we're getting to the Kendrick Lamar shit. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar, man. It's the 10th anniversary of Section 80.
Yep. It's funny because as time progressed, like when this album first came out, it was always a discussion whether or not this was a mixtape or an album. And initially I always called it an album just because I felt like it was the best thing that kind of dropped at that point in time musically.
Definitely.
And as time progressed, it sort of like went through a phase where I heard him sort of transition. I'm like, damn, like this feel like a mixtape in the sense that I like it more than I like a lot of the new shit. Not to say the new shit was bad, but nostalgically it felt better. Like it felt like him sort of peaking. And I watched the interview recently. I want to say it was with MTV. Rob Markman reposted it, and he was saying how he was like, yo, I'm finally at a point where I feel like I'm ready to go like to levels in my career that I wasn't able to before. And I thought I was ready like 6 years ago, but now I've recorded this and I really feel like I've kind of reached another level. And you can tell, like I could tell from the music at that point in time. Songs like Rigor Mortis really kind of sat with a lot of people, but it was a lot more music on that album that was just like, oh shit, like ADHD, like those type of feelings that you got from the project sort of set the tone for music that he made down the line.
I always really loved that album. I mean, as far as Kendrick catalog goes, I like that album. Maybe it's probably my favorite Kendrick album next to Damn because I like easy listening Kendrick. I thought about this with the Tyler album. No salt to Tyler, but sometimes I feel like since Kanye, a lot of the more eclectic rappers sometimes get into this bag where they make artistic pieces instead of albums, and which is cool, but sometimes I just want easy ride and shit that you can just play in the car and this shit just got a vibe to it. And I think Kendrick found that perfect spot with Section 80 because it's very artistic, but it still has like songs like Hold Up and like the Fuck Your Ethnicity is another joint that's really fire, like shit that just rides. You know, it still got the message and shit, but it's not overdone where it's like all these crazy.
You get the chance to sit in it.
Yeah, it's like not. Sometimes it's just too many interludes for me and shit, too many switch ups, too many like for you to even really just ride it. Sometimes I like a song like it was that perfect fucking conscious album that you could also play around chicks.
Yeah, rap life balance.
Yeah,
like I want to hear a nigga give me rap in life.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes the
Give
best
me some
rappers
grooves and shit, some vibes.
Section 80 is one of those albums where you sit down and you realize that a lot of people are going through the same things. Like we go through the same cycles. We sit down and we engage with the same type of people. And rap at its best is like a look into somebody's perspective. Like, and I think songs like ADHD give you that. Fuck Your Ethnicity is another one that kind of gives you that. Like a lot of the things that he kept on, that he put on this project.
To me, that was like the real first true introduction of Ab Soul, like with the Ab Soul's interlude and shit. Like that was one of the songs that made me really start taking notice. Like, who's this Ab Soul guy? Let me go dig into his catalog. Like, actually, I gotta look at this track listing because I feel like I'm missing one. But fuck, what's the name of that song? Smoke good, eat good, live good. Smoke good, live good, eat good. What the fuck is the name of that song?
No, it's called. That's my favorite song too. Is it Cushion Corinthians?
No, it's
not Cushion Corinthians. Damn, man. I bet I got 1,000 things going on at once.
I'm gonna look it up. Oh, it is. Damn, what is the name?
Poor
of that
Man's
song?
Dreams.
Poor Man's Dreams. That's the name of it. Yeah, that shit's really hard. Yeah, man, there's so many joints on here. I used to always love Spiteful Chant too, man, because that was like that's what I mean. That's what I mean about vibes. Like Kendrick still had those little kind of turn up type joints where they were really playing in the car. That's probably like I said, it's probably my favorite Kendrick album. You can kind of see this where the sound was gonna go from this album too. Like a lot of the prior projects he put out, like he was still trying to figure it out. But when you listen to Section 80 and you listen to Damn, they still kind of have like a correlation. They almost could play like one behind each other.
Yeah,
it's got that same type of vibe to me. Those are like sometimes Kendrick with that what's the album I hate? To Pimp a Butterfly. That's what I mean. Sometimes it gets a little bit too artistic, and albums like Damn and Section 80 is when they find that, like you said, rap life balance of everything. And yeah, man. So I guess shout out to Kendrick, man. I don't know if you got anything else to say about that.
Yeah, shout out to Kendrick. What's funny is I remember hearing him as a rapper before that, as K-Dot, around the time that J-Rock was doing features with Lil Wayne on that, I can't remember the name of that song. But Kendrick was in that video anyway. There was I want to say it was either Modern Variety or maybe like Montreality, one of those blogs that was regional, that was sitting down and talking to him about his name change. And it was just him, like around the time he was kind of letting people know his affiliation with TDE and all that shit. He was talking about going to Kendrick Lamar so he could rebrand. And all the music that came out shortly after that was Kendrick Lamar EP, Overly Dedicated, and then Section 80. And the transition that you heard was like what became Section 80, I think. Because before that, he was just like a lyrical miracle. And when I heard Overly Dedicated, like I think me and you talked about it at one point in time, I was like, yo, niggas was playing all the wrong songs for me. like I'm hearing all the shit that I feel like a nigga who was looking for a new rapper to like would want to hear. Like I'm looking for
all the fatty ass songs,
all the character that comes through when you've listened to an artist and settled in. So like
it took me hearing Section 80 to really go back to Overly Dedicated.
Because I used to tell this nigga about Overly Dedicated. Because I think somebody did the same shit that they did to him. It was like, yo, said, listen to Michael Jordan. This it, bro. And I'm just like, man, I'm good, bro. Even some of the fast rap songs that he had on Overly Dedicated. But it was just like
even with Rigor Mortis, like, it was fine. But I was just like, nah, this ain't. But when I heard songs like Hold Up, Fuck Your Ethnicity, I'm like, okay.
Poor Man's Dreams.
He's an artist. Like, he's an artist. He's not just a rapper, man. Like, I've heard a lot of niggas rap great, man. That's why I'm not really amazed by that. Like you said, the lyrical miracle shit. I mean, you could. I don't know, it's the
feeling, bro. Yeah. Like, all of the music that I've gotten accustomed to listening to on a regular basis ain't really like the most lyrical. But I feel like depending on what time I'm going through in life, I've learned that shit even listening to our music. I'm listening to a lot of our music recently. But I'm like, yo, some of this shit ain't as lyrically sound as I felt like it was before, but I know where it came from. And I feel like the people who really, really love it know where it came from or can relate to it because that's something that they were going through at that time. Like, I don't really try to make shit too complicated. And I recognize when artists who are from that same cloth don't make shit too complicated. Like, what is it, Schoolboy Q? It was this shit that Kendrick said. He was like, the simplest shit be the most lyrical. I think that's the aesthetic that, like, most good artists try to go into shit with. Like,
also, I always look at it like, I look at it much like basketball. Like, yeah, Tim Duncan is very sound, like, but nobody, I mean, nobody wants to watch that shit. But then there's like unorthodox niggas like AI that don't have, like, they don't play the game the way the game is ideally supposed to be played.
Make that shit exciting.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're there for. Those are the people that stick with you. They're like the MJs that kind of like redefine what the game should look like. And I think there's so many artists that can easily, because I think it's very easy to be technically sound, but it's a lot harder to develop a style. A style takes, like, taking chances, taking risks. Like, sometimes, like, the shit with Kendrick where he does all the little filters and shit, not that he made that up, but shit, you had to do a lot of trial and error. I'm sure the first time he did that shit on a song, somebody was like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I read an article.
You know, like,
first of all, there's two things about that. I remember hearing Good Kid, Mad City, and we had a conversation at Illis about it before a recording session. We were just talking about the album, and I was like, I can tell this nigga listen to a lot of Outkast because that's shit that Andre would do on a lot of albums that, like, around the time I was really able to understand and absorb music differently. He was like, yo, it's crazy that you said that because a lot of this shit comes from, I was saying, like, Atlanta influenced everything. Atlanta's just one of those things that if, like, you ever got tapped in or really got a full experience, like, it left a mark. And I can see that in certain artists. And he was like, it was funny because I remember Outkast having a conversation about their motivation for the type of music they were making around ATLiens and Aquemini, and they were talking about listening to a lot of Pharcyde. I was like, damn, like, there are a lot of influences that we talk about as far as music is concerned that just freeballing ideas, like trying to figure out, or free-forming ideas, trying to put shit into perspective so that when we create things, it makes more sense, that you really kind of see the train of thought with a lot of these rappers. And
yeah, it's funny. That's the thing with art. It's like people be like, oh, like so-and-so took this from this person. And, like, at the end of the day, like, depending on when you're born,
it's all inspired or something.
Yeah, everything comes from something else.
And
there's no original art. Our art is all copying and, like, a hodgepodge of other ideas.
And I'm sure that type of, to mirror something like Andre didn't take, like, one take. Like, I remember them doing an interview with Ali in one magazine, and he was like, yo, he'll do 80 takes of one verse.
Yeah.
Like, he'll do 80 takes, and then he'll listen back to them, and then he'll pick the ones that sound good, or he'll take parts of one verse or one take that he tried a different way and then add it in. And you can hear it in his verses, like all the transitions, the voiceovers, like all of that shit. Like, he's gone through it so many times. Like, and again, probably the ADHD aspect of the creative process. You change direction because it feels a certain kind of way. And for people who are actually listening to it, trying to catch that switch, you can do that if you listen to that artist over and over again. You end up in the same cycle that they were in, trying to create the music. And it's interesting when you kind of, like, you get to a point where you start breaking music down like that, Cause it's like, yeah, I'll do that. If I like a song, I'll listen to it over and over again to figure out like, yo, how did you get here? How did you start with the sounds that are this beat and end up here with all these thoughts and all these words and all these feelings? Like, so yeah, Section 80 is one of those projects you can do that with. Very akin to like the first time I heard Food and Liquor, or the first time I sat down and listened to like Blueprint or the Black Album. Like I went through it and was like, all right, now let's go back and try to analyze it. So yeah, shout out Section 80, man. Definitely it definitely aged very well. It didn't fade out.
Aged the best out of albums in that era, or that blog era of rap. It's probably the classic of that era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything even comes close. Some would say So Far Gone, but that's not me, folks.
Not quite.
How much time is it?
40 minutes.
All right, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. Got anything else you want to say?
You want to do what we've been listening to? We've been watching. We'll save it for the next spot.
Yeah, say that.
Yeah, man. It's been real.
Yeah, man. That was this and this was that, man. Like I said, this shit was God engineering. Shout out to 404 Creatives, man.
Shout out 404 Creators, man.
Yeah. Shout out Taji, man, wherever you are. See you soon, bro.
I'm gonna see you this weekend, man. We probably gonna do some other dad shit again.
We
should all link, man. Let's do some shit. I got a 4-day weekend. It's gonna take some planning, but let's do it.
Yeah. Catch me in the streets trick.
Holla at the player.
Yup.